Hey everybody, and welcome to this deep dive. Today we're going to be going way back to ancient Canaan.
Ooh, Canaan.
Yeah, we're going to the book of Genesis.
Where?
We're going to unpack a story that is just full of family drama and unexpected blessings and a really crazy twist.
I love a good twist.
Yeah, this is one that has resonated for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, huh?
Yeah, we're talking about Genesis 48.
All right, Genesis 48.
So get ready.
I'm ready.
Let's jump in.
Okay, so this story, it really gives us this sort of window into the ancient world, you know?
Yeah.
It shows us how important family and legacy and divine blessings were,
Right.
you know, back then.
Yeah.
And it's all about the patriarch, Jacob, or Israel, as you might know him by, and he's nearing the end of his life.
Yeah.
And he calls for his son Joseph.
Okay. Joseph, you know the one with the coat?
Oh, yeah. The
famous coat?
Yeah, he shows up with his two sons,
Okay.
Manasseh and Ephraim.
Now, before we get into the actual blessing itself, I think it's really important for us to remember that back then,
Yeah.
a blessing from someone like Jacob, it wasn't just some nice words that, you know, your grandpa says to you.
Right.
This was serious business. It could determine someone's future, their inheritance,
Wow.
even their standing in the entire community.
Pressure then.
Yeah, no pressure at all. And to add to all this, the text specifically tells us that Jacob's eyesight is failing.
Oh, really? His eyesight?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
That detail really jumped out at me, too. I mean, you'd think that, you know, to give such an important blessing, you'd need
You would think, yeah.
pretty clear vision. But
Right.
that detail about his weakened sight, it actually, I think, foreshadows something much deeper.
Ooh. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, do you think so?
Yeah, tell me more.
Okay, so it kind of sets the stage for this story where you know what you see with your eyes.
Uh-huh.
It's not as important as this spiritual insight and how God's plan might not always line up with what we expect as humans.
It's true. It's true.
So, okay, let's get to the scene. Joseph. He presents his sons to his dad
Yeah.
for this blessing. And of course, he puts Manasseh, the older son, to Jacob's right, and then Ephraim, who's the younger, to Jacob's left.
Makes sense.
You know, follows tradition, honors the birth order.
It seems so straightforward, right?
Great.
Everything's in place. Everyone's waiting for this traditional blessing. You know, like, we know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But then Jacob,
Yeah.
with his failing eyesight,
Mm-hmm.
he does something completely unexpected.
What does he do?
He crosses his hands.
What?
Yeah, he puts his right hand,
Oh, wow.
the hand that usually signifies a greater blessing, you know,
Oh, yeah.
on Ephraim's head, the younger son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And his left hand is on Manasseh, the older one.
Can you imagine?
Oh, the tension
Oh, yeah.
in the room.
Everyone must have been like, what is going on?
I know, right? Totally caught off guard.
And Joseph, he's got to be trying to make sense of all this.
Of course.
And he's like, you know, Dad, you're messing this up.
Right.
He must have thought it was because of his vision.
Yeah, he's like, Dad, you're not seeing straight.
Right?
Let me
But
fix this for
he
you.
even tries to physically, you know, move his hands back to what he thinks
Right, the proper way.
is the proper position.
Yeah.
But Jacob's like, no.
He's like,
Want to know what I'm doing?
I know my son. I
He's
guess.
so firm about
Yeah.
it, and he makes it very clear that this is not an accident.
This is deliberate.
This is a choice,
It's a
a
choice.
conscious decision to go against tradition.
Wow.
And then he makes this powerful prophecy.
What does he say?
He says that Ephraim's descendants will become a multitude of nations.
A multitude of nations.
Wow.
That throws everything into question, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Tradition logic,
Mm-hmm.
human understanding.
Yeah.
Whose will is actually at play here?
Yeah.
Is it Jacob making this decision, or is he like,
Right.
you know, is he being guided by something bigger, by God?
Yeah. By something we don't even understand.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Tell me more.
You know, we talk a lot about how important tradition is
Right.
and, you know, respecting the way things are usually done.
Mhm.
But what about when tradition clashes with divine guidance? You know,
Oh, that's good.
what happens then?
Well, it does happen then.
And I think this story shows us that sometimes to truly follow God's plan,
Yeah,
you might have to totally upend what everyone expects.
that's powerful.
Yeah. It
It really makes you think about those traditions, you know?
Right.
Are we holding on to them because they really matter, or just because?
Yeah, just because that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Right? Are we even open to the idea that maybe God wants to lead us
Mm-hmm.
in a direction that doesn't even make sense to us?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and to make it even more impactful, you know, Jacob's actions,
Yeah.
they have long-reaching consequences.
Oh, really?
This isn't just a family matter. This is a prophecy that's going to shape
Well,
the future of nations.
it all goes back to that,
Yeah.
divine will versus human tradition.
So we've got this patriarch on his deathbed.
Right.
We've got a son who's trying to honor his father, and these two grandsons whose lives are about to be completely changed
Wow.
by a blessing that just flips the script.
Yeah.
And underneath it all, there's this tension.
This tension between...
What's expected, what's logical, and what God has planned.
It makes you wonder.
It really does.
What would have happened if Joseph had, successfully corrected his father?
Ooh.
Would he have been messing with God's plan?
Right.
And
how often do we do that?
In our own lives, right?
How often do we try to make things happen the way we want them to go? We try to force them to fit into our expectations without ever stopping to think that maybe, just maybe, there's something bigger going on that we're not seeing.
It's like there's this bigger picture
Yeah.
we're missing.
And that's what this story's really about.
Yeah.
It's not just about two brothers and this, cross-handed blessing.
Yeah.
It's about surrendering to a plan that is bigger than us.
Right.
And trusting God even when it doesn't make sense.
When it's unexpected.
And that's something we can all relate to, right?
Surely.
I mean, we've all had those moments when life throws us a curveball.
Yeah.
Our plans just,
It totally messed up.
fall apart.
Yeah.
But maybe those unexpected twists are actually God redirecting us
Right.
to something even better
It's something bigger. Yeah.
than we could have imagined.
And just like Joseph, sometimes we need to just take a step back
Yeah.
and trust that even when things seem totally out of order, they might actually be perfectly aligned
Yeah.
with God's plan.
I know this is really making me think about
Yeah.
all those times in my life when things didn't go my way. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe those were actually blessings in disguise.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay, slow down.
We still have a lot more to talk about.
We do. This is just the beginning.
Right.
This story, it goes on for generations.
Oh, no.
It talks about some of the biggest questions we have
Right.
about faith and destiny
Uh-huh.
and the surprising ways that God works in our lives.
I can't wait to keep going.
Me too. This is going to be good.
So we've got this amazing moment where Jacob blesses Ephraim, the younger son, with a greater blessing than Manasseh.
Yeah.
And he says that Ephraim's descendants are going to become this, multitude of nations.
Right, altitude.
But it's not just some symbolic gesture, right?
Oh, no, definitely not.
This blessing has real historical weight to it.
Absolutely. This story of Jacob and Joseph and those crossed hands, it doesn't just stay in the book of Genesis.
Right.
It actually echoes through the entire history of the Israelites.
Wow.
If you look at how the tribes of Israel developed, Ephraim's descendants, they really did become super numerous and really influential too.
Wow.
They played a huge role in forming the northern kingdom of Israel.
So it's like Jacob's blessing really set a specific course for Ephraim's family line.
Yeah.
And that played out over generations.
Exactly. It's like this
Yeah.
fascinating example of how these ancient blessings, they weren't just about one person's fate.
Right.
They could actually shape the future of entire nations.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. And it kind of makes you think about those small moments.
Yeah.
Those choices that maybe go against what everyone expects. And how those tiny things can have a huge ripple effect throughout history.
That makes me think about how often we just focus on the big events in life,
The stuff that makes headlines.
Yeah, and we miss those smaller choices.
Yeah.
That might actually be setting something much bigger in motion.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It really makes you think,
Yeah.
what if we're in those moments where we could choose to just go with the flow? Or, do what's easy.
Right.
But what if we're actually being called to do something different, something more like Jacob?
To step outside of what's comfortable.
Right, to make a choice that's aligned with a bigger purpose.
Even if it doesn't seem to make sense at first.
Exactly. Even if it seems totally unconventional.
It makes me wonder how many times we might be missing those opportunities, those chances to be part of something truly amazing.
Right.
Just because we're stuck doing things the way they've always been done.
Yeah, I think that's a risk we all face.
Yeah, you're right. It's like this reminder that even when we can't see the whole picture,
Yeah.
even when things don't seem to make sense, there might be something bigger at work,
Guiding us.
leading us somewhere.
Yeah, to a place we can't even imagine yet.
And maybe that place is better than anything we could have planned for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about trusting the journey even when there are those unexpected turns.
Right.
It's about being open to the idea that what seems like a setback or, a roadblock might actually be God redirecting us.
Yeah, to something even better.
To a greater purpose.
And it also makes us think about what a blessing really is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Do we think of blessings as just like material wealth or success or comfort?
Right.
But maybe the story is saying a true blessing could be a challenge, an opportunity to grow, or a chance to be part of something much bigger than ourselves.
To connect with something bigger, yeah.
So for our listeners, what are some ways that we can apply this to our own lives?
That's a good question. I think it starts with just being open.
Okay.
It's aware.
Aware of what's going on around us.
Yeah. Instead of just going through the motions,
Right.
we can really try to be present in each moment and ask ourselves, what is this situation asking of me?
Yeah.
Is this choice I'm making lined up with my value?
Right.
And, my sense of purpose, even if it means shaking things up a bit.
So it's about being intentional.
Yeah.
About thinking about the impact of our choices.
Right.
Even the ones that seem small.
Exactly. And it's about being willing to step outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah, to trust that even when things feel uncertain, there's something guiding us.
Yeah, leading us towards something better.
Just like Ephraim,
Yeah.
we might be surprised by the blessings that come our way.
Right.
When we surrender to that guidance.
Yeah.
Even if it takes us down a path we weren't expecting.
It's a reminder that we have the power to shape our own destinies.
Yeah.
To be part of something truly amazing. But it starts with that willingness to trust.
Yeah.
To be open to the unexpected.
To believe that God might be leading us towards a blessing that's bigger than anything we could have imagined.
And that's where faith comes in.
Right.
It's about taking that leap.
Yeah.
Trusting that even when we can't see the whole plan, there's a reason for it all.
There's a purpose.
Yeah.
This deep dive into Genesis 48, it's really taken us on a journey.
It has.
From a simple blessing to a story that spans generations.
Right.
It touches on some of the biggest questions about faith and destiny and how God works in our lives.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How a story from so long ago can still be so relevant today.
It really is. And I think it leaves us with a lot to think about as we go on our own journeys. It's amazing to me how this story, it seems so simple at first, just a family getting together, but it sparked all this discussion. And we've really been thinking about it, haven't we?
You have.
So why do you think this story of Jacob and Joseph and the blessing, why do you think it still resonates with people?
I think it's because at its heart, it's really about the things we all struggle with.
Yeah, like what kinds of things?
Well, faith dealing with the unexpected.
Right.
Trying to figure out what it all means. When life throws you those curveballs.
Yeah.
I think we all have those moments.
Yeah.
Where we feel pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah, trying to figure out what we want.
Right.
And how that fits into, this bigger purpose.
Absolutely. And I think this story gives us a really powerful example.
Yeah.
Of what it looks like to surrender to that purpose.
To let go of control.
Yeah, even when it doesn't make sense.
Even when it goes against everything you thought you knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it speaks to that need we all have,
Yeah.
To feel like we're not alone. Like there's something guiding us.
Right, not just wandering around aimlessly.
Like there's a plan, a purpose, even when we can't see the whole thing.
So maybe it's not about the specifics of this one story,
Right.
but the bigger ideas it shows us about faith and blessings.
And the way God works in our lives.
I think you're exactly right.
It's about trusting in those moments.
Yeah.
When we're called to step into the unknown.
To embrace the mystery.
And to really believe that maybe those detours, those disruptions, they're actually leading us to a better place.
To a greater blessing.
Than we ever could have imagined on our own.
Yeah, and it also makes us ask ourselves, what is a blessing anyway?
Ooh, that's good.
Are we so focused on getting what we want?
Yeah, on following a certain path.
On that one specific outcome.
That we miss the blessings that are already here.
That are right in front of us.
Yeah, maybe they look different than we expected.
Maybe a blessing is a challenge or a chance to grow.
Right.
Or a chance to change.
This story really makes us open our minds to all the possibilities.
I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We went all the way back to ancient Canaan. We saw this incredible moment in the Bible.
Yeah.
And we talked about faith and destiny.
And how God works in mysterious ways.
And I hope it gave our listeners a lot to think about.
Me too.
As always, we encourage you to read the story yourself.
Yeah, go back to the source.
Read Genesis 48 and decide what it means to you.
There's so much to discover.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Yeah.
And keep looking for those unexpected blessings.
You never know where they might lead.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.